It was 2 a.m. The base camp in Nepal was drowned in silence, except for the strong winds slapping against the tents. While the other climbers were curled up in their sleeping bags, Arif Sherpa was tightening the laces of his boots. This night wasn't ordinary. Arif was about to challenge the world's highest mountain, but with one condition. He wasn't allowed to stop. This journey wasn't about survival. It was about speed. A race between death and time was about to begin. Arif checked his equipment one last time. Oxygen mask, crampons, and ice axe. There was no fear on his face, only a strange, calm silence. He placed his finger on the stopwatch strapped to his wrist. Click. Time started. He left the base camp and disappeared into the darkness. Only one thought echoed in his mind. I must return, but only after breaking the record. The first and most dangerous challenge was the Khumbu Icefall. This place is like a game of Russian roulette, where every step carries the risk of death. Massive blocks of ice, as tall as 10-story buildings, could collapse at any moment. Arif balanced himself on the ladders like a tightrope walker. His logic was simple. Stopping here was an open invitation to death. Without hesitation and without a single mistake, he moved swiftly through the maze of ice. People think Everest is only about freezing cold. But in the western CWM, nature shows its other side. When the sun rises, the ice reflects the light and the whole valley turns into a microwave oven. The heat is so intense that dehydration can make you faint. Arif's suit was soaked in sweat. Every drop of water was precious, but he didn't slow down. He knew that if he relaxed, exhaustion would consume him. Now he stood before the Lhotse face. A towering wall of hard, blue ice stretching thousands of feet high. Climbers here hang on ropes for hours, gasping for breath. But Arif was like a machine. His legs were battling a storm of pain. His muscles were screaming. Yet he did not stop. The climbers already on the face watched in shock. Was this a human or some kind of robot running at such altitude? Reaching South Col, the air pressure was so low that breathing became extremely difficult. This was the death zone, where the human body slowly begins to die. Normally, climbers spend the night here to summit the next day. But Arif stayed only 20 minutes. He drank water, changed his oxygen cylinder, and set off for the final climb. Science says the mind stops functioning properly here, but Arif's focus was still sharp as a laser. The lack of oxygen had started taking its toll. Arif began to hallucinate, sometimes feeling as if someone was calling him, sometimes as if the path had vanished. When he reached the Hillary step, he looked down. An 8,000-foot deep abyss was waiting below. One mistake, and everything would end. But Arif controlled his fear. This battle was no longer about strength, it was about the mind. The sky began to lighten, and the first ray of sunlight touched the highest point on Earth. Arif took the final step and stood on the top of Everest. He looked at his stopwatch. 10 hours, 56 minutes, 46 seconds. The impossible had become possible. He had achieved what even legends hesitate to imagine. He had conquered the world's highest peak in the fastest time. Strong winds whipped across the summit, and the temperature was lower than -30. Arif knelt down. People dance, scream, or celebrate at such a moment. But Arif was completely silent. He lifted his mask slightly to feel the open air. Tears formed in his eyes, freezing instantly in the cold. It was the joy of victory, but even more, the peace of knowing that there was no higher place left to climb. Looking at the camera, Arif didn't give a long speech. He glanced at the peak, then at the world beneath him, and said in a faint voice, "Mount Everest is not a mountain, it's just a rock." And that's exactly what happens. When human courage awakens, even the world's tallest mountain becomes nothing more than a piece of stone.